Yay! Welcome to
Yay!
Medi-Veggie.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Medi-Veggie. It's Wednesday and it's like my favorite day. How is everyone doing before we begin our show? Fill us in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was just hit with such intense energies. That's been crazy. I wonder who else is feeling that way.
I think we all are. So today's episode is much needed, I think.
Yeah. So if there's fires happening like in your homes and families and workplace or whatever, it's not surprising. But you know what? We'll get through. We'll all get through.
Yeah.
A little bit of meditation really helps. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yes, speaking of getting through, today is the last Wednesday of February, and February is Black History Month. So today we have a special presentation by Mina Gates on 3 vegan Black chefs that we wish to recognize and honor. And she'll also be presenting a special recipe paying homage to African American culture here. So looking forward to that.
And it'll be really fun too to share like how the Asian community has been impacted or affected by the hard work that the African American community has been working for hundreds of years, right? And here we are reaping the benefits. Yeah, so it's good to also recognize that. And then of course we have to address some struggles and drama, right? But keeping it at a minimum because this is Medi-Veggie after all.
It's a good reminder.
Yes. So how are you doing, Mina? I mean, you're still in Canada?
I am, thus the northern lights around me. Thought I'd share that energy.
Is it like really cold up there, snowing, all that good stuff?
We actually went from a minus 26 Celsius with wind chills of minus 35 to 40 to actually freezing, just 0 Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit. And we went for a walk and it was just balmy. We felt like it was summer. It's funny how relative weather becomes.
I'd say, oh my gosh, like here, as soon as it hits like 50s, I'm like, oh, it's cold, right?
There was somebody wearing shorts.
That is the craziest thing, actually, to see people in shorts, like
in the snow.
And it's snowing.
So yeah, it's been a good trip, and it's really interesting being in a country that doesn't have the really the same history as America, right? So I was so excited this week to look at some of these chefs that we were going to look at, because it was just fascinating to me to see how many vegan chefs there are that are Black. And I'm just fascinated. I'm like looking forward to trying all these recipes that I've looked at this week.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead, Shami.
Because they're not featured often. So there's a stereotype like, oh, what African American cuisine is like. There's this whole stereotype. Yeah, so I'm excited that you're going to share an aspect we usually don't hear about.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of kick us off so we can get into it, Mina, because I think it's time. So welcome to Medi-Veggie, everyone, where we encourage health from the mind to the body. And during our Medi-Veggie show, you will always be getting a vegetarian recipe or some tips about dietary health, as well as a short 15-minute guided meditation. We are here every Wednesday at 12:15, and you can join us on the Zoom call, or you can watch our stream through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn. If you're just watching us right now, tuning in, we are nearing the end of February, which is Black History Month. So Mina Gates, our resident chef and health coach, has prepared a lovely presentation on 3 vegan and vegetarian Black American chefs to recognize today. So I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Mina so she can share about this presentation.
All right. So the first chef, let's see, do you have them available, Esther?
Oh yeah, while Tromby's getting that pulled up.
Oh, sorry. I'm busy in chat mode. Okay. I'm like processing stuff.
Well, so yeah, it's funny. I'll talk about the first one. When we first started here, I started looking at various vegan recipes, and I was just astounded. There's probably 15 or 20 vegan African American chefs out there. Let's highlight the first one. If you would go to the next person there, that would be great. So this Tabitha Brown lady. I love her. I mean, she has an energy that I have not experienced. She just comes alive on screen.
Look
She
at her
has,
earrings.
oh, she's cool. 3.3 million followers. Do you know what made her famous? Carrot bacon. Like, it was the first vegan recipe I picked up. And here, go back for a sec. I really love the one that you had just previously. She's got a great way about her. She's got a YouTube channel. I would highly recommend that you look at all of her videos. They're all very, very unique. So let's go to the next one. Okay, this is really important, I think. Judy Brangman is called the Plant-Based MD, and she really teaches us about nutrition and how to approach vegan health, vegan food and health. This is really the science of veganism. And, she talks about getting the right staples. People always say, what should I have in my kitchen? What should I shop for? What if I'm on a budget? Vegan food seems so expensive. So this lady just really demystifies all of that. And I'm looking forward to watching all of her episodes. And I would, I think all of these are on YouTube, Instagram, all of the various channels. But she's got that medical background. So I'm always in for doctors that get into nutrition and, functional health and all that. And I'm really into it. Okay, so let's see who we have next. Now, Tracy McWhirter. She has a company called By Any Greens Necessary. That's her tag. And she's been a vegan for 33 years. So you can imagine that in 33 years, she's amassed a lot of knowledge. She's got a free African-American vegan starter pack guide. So that would be really great if anybody is interested in starting off or interested in cooking more African-American cuisine. She just really inspires people to eat greens. And, I never really knew how to eat greens. Like, what's the difference in mustard greens and, rainbow greens and, beet greens? Can I actually eat those? That's all. That's the kind of stuff that she's going to really help us with. And she's got a wonderful book called Ageless Vegan. Who doesn't want to lose some years? I want to lose some years. I want to look younger. And so the heart of veganism is really to, bring that youth out into us. And look how she just looks alive and vibrant. So these are the 3 that I thought out of the 20 that I saw that spoke to me. But there's really a wealth of information on these chefs, and they're just, to me, they're beautiful women, and they're people who are doing some great things out there for veganism.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love it. I love it so much. I think we have to really highlight this episode and let the world know that this is really important to, share this information about different types of chefs from different backgrounds, and the important work that they do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrate them, right?
Exactly. So another bit of history I want to share real quick before Mina gets going with her recipe about the how African Americans have helped the Vietnamese community specifically. So during the times of the Vietnam War, or the ending of it, there were a lot of people who did not want the refugees to come to America. And guess what? Who stood up for us were actually African Americans who urged Congress to make these, to welcome us as immigrants or refugees into this country. So we must not forget that. That's a piece of history that is not highlighted. It talks about, the white savior, right? But along with that, there's a lot of people who wanted to be here. Of course, there are a lot of people who didn't want us to be here as well. So it was really important to us that the African American communities recognize for that, for welcoming us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Mina, do you want to talk about your
Yes.
recipe? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I chose rice pudding today. There's a lot of reasons why I chose rice pudding. It's very comforting. Usually it's made with milk and cream and things like that. But this version is made out of coconut milk. So I'd like to go through the recipe and kind of show you how I made it. It was absolutely delish. I got to tell you that. So it was. The reason that I actually chose rice is that people think that rice actually came from the South, but it didn't. It actually came from Africa. And so we'll talk a little bit about that history after I show you the recipe.
Maybe
I'm
you can talk
just,
about it now because I think we're having a little bit of some issues.
Technical difference?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So,
About the rice history.
rice is like a staple all over the world, right? And typically we have tons of recipes for making things with leftover rice. It's wholesome, good calorie value. And there's so many different ways to flavor rice. But people, like I said, thought that the colonials brought rice to America. But that's really not the case. What actually happened was that rice was grown in Africa, and there were people in Africa that actually knew how to cultivate rice. And so when we started having the tobacco plantations, the cotton plantations, actually the colonialists needed these goods for the British, right? They needed to show, oh, we're colonizing, but we're going to bring you some resource or something. So they started with tobacco and cotton, but in Georgia and in the Carolinas, it was actually rice. And when the slaves, first they actually had indentured white servants who then would work for their freedom. But after that, when the slave trade started, there were literally millions of people brought over. And when they came to the docks and when they were actually, buying slaves, sadly, they actually, the ones that knew about the cultivation of rice were actually the ones that everybody wanted, because this was really a crop that was bringing in a lot of prestige and, money and the rest of it. So, the rice really, it's fascinating because I always thought it came from the South, but it didn't. The people that actually are known for their rice cultivation are called the Gula people from the rice coast of Sierra Leone. And those were the people that actually settled in Georgia and in the Carolinas. So, wow, I was fascinated to know that a lot of the rice recipes and other recipes like jambalaya and the sloppy rice and all that other kind of rice-based dishes come from that area. Good to know.
Wow. Yeah, it just makes me like, I cringed when you talked about how like they would pick which slaves to take, right? I mean, it's just, uh, I mean, they were still looking for profit, like, it's like,
Yeah.
just makes
I
me
thought
so sick.
the amount of hard work that they had to do to keep these kitchens going. Like, it took me 10 minutes to make the rice pudding. But when you think about the fact that they had to keep the fires burning, and you think about Southern hospitality, right? Southern hospitality is when somebody comes in the middle of the night, you feed them something. Well, there's somebody who has to tend to the fire. There's somebody who has to carry those big, heavy cast iron pots. There's somebody who has to carry in all the provisions. It was hard, heavy labor. So anyway, let's go to the vegan rice pudding. So this recipe has two parts. The first part is to make the toppings, and we've got all of these wonderful ingredients. I took a silpat, or you can take parchment paper and put down your coconut, your almonds, your raisins, mix that all up, throw in a tablespoon of coconut sugar. It's low glycemic, that's why I like it. Raisins, of course. And then what you want to do is pour a little bit of water just to get everything to stick. So it's kind of like making granola. And I like to put in kosher salt because kosher salt gives you that little salty crunch. 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes and watch it, because it tends to actually, burn very, very quickly. And I almost burnt all of mine as well, like all of my coconut. So the second part of this is making the rice portion. So while that other stuff is in the oven, go ahead and take your coconut milk. I pick light coconut milk, a cup and a half of water, jasmine rice. Actually, before I put the rice in, I actually steep the orange rind. Oh my gosh, it smelled so good. The orange rind, vanilla, salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove powder. And you just let it steep on a very low stove. The entire kitchen was smelling of this wonderful concoction of this citrus flavor. It's just, oh. Now this is sped up a little bit, but it took a little bit of time to just let it steep. And then after that happens, you put in your rice. And this is nothing you want to do quick. You don't want it to stick at the bottom, but you don't want to over stir it either. And then just cover it. Once it gets to sort of a boil, you bring it down to a simmer, and you want to cover it up and let it absorb all of the liquid. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever used one of these, they're called Salton cooktops. Boy, I love this thing. It's so much easier to, if you have a place that you need more space, you can certainly, it's easier to cook on this to show people how to make stuff. Sorry, my daughter calls me at the worst times. Yeah, so let it absorb all of it. And then you'll see how it's absorbing. You'll see how it's bubbling away. Do you guys like rice? You like rice? It's a good way to use it up. Then there's the toppings are all done.
How long was the cooking process?
Maybe like 15 minutes max. It depends on the type of rice. You don't have to use jasmine rice. You can use any short grain rice. So that's nice, the nice thing about it. And there you go. That's what the finished product looked like. I didn't put honey in it because I wanted it to be vegan. But, if you don't mind honey would have been great on that.
I didn't
So
even.
that's it.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I love it. I didn't even think about honey being not vegan. Isn't that silly of me? Yeah. It's made from vegan. Yeah. There's all sorts of things that I learned after the fact about, like I worked in this vegan kitchen one time, and I'd love to have them on sometime. But so many things like cornstarch, for example, there's arrowroot instead. I don't know. I think cornstarch is just fine. But there's just all sorts of other things, that I learned in that moment in that kitchen where I was like, oh, I thought that was vegan. Like, I don't know, it's crazy, but like, I think even eggs are like vegetarian, but they're not really vegetarian, right? Because they come from animals, right? But what if the animal just does it anyway? It's not like if I have free range chicken, because they're there anyways and they lay eggs anyway, I'm not making them. Why is that not okay?
I think there's a whole spectrum of vegans, right? Like, the ones that are like easy vegans, and then the ones that are really strict vegans. And I think it's like you said once, it's a journey, right? To get from here to there. But I loved the fact that we are today able to utilize rice that came from people that worked so hard for it and taught us how to cultivate it, and that so many cultures around the world eat rice, and that we can flavor it in 1,000 different ways, right? But I really hope that you guys will try it.
This was a whole different kind of rice pudding. Like I have seen other kinds, and the Indian rice pudding, kheer or payasam. And then I know my daughters love this other coconut rice pudding, which is just jasmine rice, and it's totally white. It doesn't have nutmeg or any of that stuff in it. But this it looked so wholesome and hearty and warm, and just right for winter.
Yeah.
I've never known
Thanks
how
for
to make
sharing that, Nina. Before we transition into our meditation today, we just want to give a quick shout out to Dennis Lozano, who says, "Thank you for sharing this important history, Trami. about the connections between the Black communities and the different Asian communities that have immigrated here over the years. And again, happy Black History Month, everyone. And Dr. Smita Garg, will you please share today's meditation with us?
Sure. So today we will do some chakra healing because of what I was talking about earlier, that there is a lot of difficult energy that a lot of people are moving through. And it's showing up in relationships, it's showing up in different ways. So we'll just kind of, work through our chakras and clear them out. Because what happens is when you're going through difficult relationships and things, whatever residual emotions you have, that you've been through as you have experienced those relationships, they accumulate in our chakras. And then they show up just when, we are facing like a somewhat difficult time. So we're going to clear our chakras so we can release all that residual stuff, anger, guilt, frustration, all that good stuff. So, yes, and I do want to mention that it was our dear friend Marcos Villa's birthday earlier this week. So let's wish him a happy birthday. Before I start, happy birthday, Marcos. Thank you so much for being here every
Happy
week.
birthday, Marcos. You finally turned 21. Congratulations.
You can finally drink.
You look great, Marco. Happy birthday.
Okay, so
Continue the festivities after this.
yes, sounds good. All right, let's begin. So everybody find your comfortable spot and close your eyes. And I will switch off my video and get started. I do want to thank Trami for coming up with a wonderful pictorial, a beautiful visual to go with our meditations every week. Thank you, Trami. All right, so let us take a few deep breaths. And begin this meditation, focusing on our breath. Take a deep breath in and hold, and release through your mouth. Make your release a little longer than your inhale. So take a deep breath in, hold, and release. And one last deep breath in, hold, and let go. And in today's meditation, we will be working more actively with the breath, letting the breath help us clear our chakras. And so now, just breathe normally, easily, gently. And as you breathe, feel a warm light falling on your body. It's a very comforting and loving warm light. Feel it moving over your body and through your body like honey, and feel it reach your feet all the way down to your toes, feeling very comfortable. Feel this beautiful warm light flow up now through your ankles, your legs, your knees, and your thighs, relaxing all the muscles. And feel this beautiful light flow up to the tip of your spine. This tip is where lies our first chakra, our base chakra. Feel this light fill up that first chakra, healing it. Clearing it and cleansing it. And now take a deep breath and let go. And feel this beautiful warm light flow up into your lower abdomen, behind your genitals. This is your sacral chakra. When you experience emotions of fear, anxiety, or guilt, any of those really difficult emotions, they come and sit right here. And they block our creativity. They block the feeling of well-being and restfulness. Feel this light clearing all those stuck emotions, completely cleansing the sacral chakra. There's often stuff that collects in our base chakras. Something that may have happened yesterday, or several weeks ago, or years prior, even past lives. It all sits here and accumulates. Allow this light to clear it all away. And now take a deep breath in and let go. And feel this light move up around your navel. This is your solar plexus. This is where we tend to store stress. How many times in stressful situations we feel that we don't really feel good in our stomach area? And somehow, when we are stressed, we don't eat very well either. So feel this light clearing out all the stress like a vacuum cleaner, emptying the solar plexus of all the stress accumulating there, releasing everything that needs to go. And now take a deep breath in and let go. Feel the light flow up to your heart chakra. It is located right under your collarbone. Whenever you may be holding onto hurts, a broken heart, times when you felt unloved, unwanted, abandoned, all those feelings of not being loved accumulate in our heart chakra. Let's bring in that beautiful light and have it vacuum away all those feelings, gently and easily removing them, releasing them. Take a deep breath and feel the light moving up your throat. This is your throat chakra now. All the times when you couldn't speak your truth, all the times you had words stuck in your throat, all the emotions that you gulped down, you may let the light release them all now. Feel this wonderful, loving, healing light dislodge anything stuck in your throat, clearing it out. Take a deep breath and release. And now feel this light moving into the space between your eyebrows, just above the bridge of your nose. This is your third eye, also known as the pineal gland. Feel the light clear out any confusions in your mind, any fuzziness or doubts. If you ever start doubting your gifts, let this light come and clear all those doubts away. Take a deep breath and let go. And now feel this beautiful light move up the crown, which is right above the top of your head. This is your crown chakra, and it is the center of all connection to the universe. This is where you receive love from the universe. This is where you receive intuitive information. Feel this love flow all the way down through each chakra. Into the earth, grounding you. And feel this light connecting you to the entire universe, to every being in this universe, in a very loving way. Send and receive this energy of love through your chakras. Connect your inner to the outer and the outer to the inner. Take a deep breath and let go. And now stay in the space of calm and peace as long as you wish. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Smita.
You're welcome.
It was
I
really,
see a brightness on your face, Trami.
I know it makes a difference just to pause and recenter, even for a few minutes.
Yeah, I love this whole vacuuming of the chakras. It's like, so needed, right? When there's so much overwhelm.
Yeah, thank you so much for using that kind of imagery too, like light being a vacuum. It makes me think of that one message I got during my tarot reading, oracle card reading with you, to eliminate unnecessary worries. I just have
Yeah,
to keep remembering that because I get overwhelmed easily these days.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And very overwhelming. I feel like putting up with the whole stay at home stuff for a year, like mentally, I was prepared for it. Like I told myself that. So somehow I did it. And now the thought of like going through it again, I don't know what it is, but it's just suddenly that my patient level has gone down. I'm not as nice to people, where it's like, so it's been really rough as of late for me.
Yeah, the answer to everything is self-love, actually. That anytime you're feeling that way, you just have to give yourself a little more love. And I don't, people misunderstand self-love. They think it is about uh, it's being selfish and just being focused on the self, but it's not. It's about filling your pot so you can offer water to others, you know? It's about that. And we are not taught to do that. We are not taught how to fill our own pot. We are just taught to keep giving the last drop. And then we realize that we have nothing left. We're thirsty and we're trying to quench other people's thirst. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Especially as women, I think. Like we're supposed to be nurturers.
yeah.
know.
I think men too. I think men have also reached a point where it's like, okay, how long are we supposed to just keep working these jobs and just keep going and keep giving and trying to make money, you know? I think everybody feels the overwhelm one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about self-love, we always get these canned things we're supposed to do, like take a bath, watch a candle, like, give yourself a hug. I mean, what are some other creative ways to love yourself? Like,
Yeah, like acknowledge what you're feeling. If you're feeling mad about something, give space to that feeling. Be like, yeah, I have the right to feel this way. I'm feeling this way, and just, but don't stay in that reactive mode. Make space for all that you're feeling, and that way you make space for yourself in your own life.
mhm.
That's a good point. Self-care means giving yourself the space that you need to vent, to be upset, to be whatever,
Yeah,
which we don't give ourselves permission to do because we're supposed to have it all together all the time, like robots, right? And
yeah,
sometimes we don't have it together.
There's something
yeah.
physiological that changes after the meditation with you, Smita. Like, I feel lighter, and somehow the things that bothered me magically sort of ease. Um, like, what is happening that in just a few short minutes, our reality can change?
It's the power of meditation. I just cannot say this enough, but we connect to this deep part of us when we are meditating, the part that we cannot or do not connect to when we are busy living our human lives.
Hmm.
And that part is actually the source of great, the only word I can think of is the Hindi word shanti, which is great peace. Like, it's the most peaceful part of us. We all have it in us. Every single one of us has it. But living the crazy human lives, we tend to stay more in the outer layers of our existence, which are all busy, busy, busy. So what meditation does is it takes you into that deep part of us, which is not busy, which is calm, always calm. And that's why sometimes I feel meditation is even more powerful than sleep, because we can have a really rough sleep, and wake up tired. Our souls are often not resting when they're asleep. They're actually working when they're asleep, you know, or processing emotions or dreams or whatever. So sometimes, we're not rested after a night's sleep. But that's where meditation comes in. If I am short on sleep, like last night, I slept only about 3.5 hours. But when I meditated earlier today, I started to feel alive again. And so that's what happens with meditation, that it connects you to the deepest, the most restful and peaceful part of you.
Hmm. So, how did you like your birthday meditation, Marcos? We created this whole thing just for you. He's on mute. Um,
I wonder, you have the universe behind you. And I'm curious, if we all meditated at the same time about this great Shanti peace, would we have the same issues that we have in the world, like COVID and, climate change and all these things? Injustice?
Probably not. Probably not.
Marcos laughing. Yeah, did you have a nice meditation, Marcos?
Yeah, yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, because you got all this going on, and it just builds up. So it does. It everybody goes through that. Yeah.
How was your week, Marcos, so far? How's your week been?
Too much the same.
There you go. Every one
Groundhog
of
Day.
us.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Started this experiment this week in my personal life, which was really interesting. So I got really frustrated and I decided to take a dining room chair and tip it over so it's on its side. And I left it there all day. I didn't pick it up. I just left it there. So, so in my household, they're like, okay, do we pick it up? What do we? So it was really interesting to see that. So they walk around it, and then I would go into like another meeting, whatever. And next thing I know,
Doesn't that drive you nuts? Doesn't that drive you nuts?
yeah, it's like, shouldn't they say something? Shouldn't be like, are you okay? So then when I came out a few hours later, all the chairs got turned over.
Wow, that's interesting.
That was the response. All the chairs got turned over. So now I'm like, do I now pick up the chairs? Because that's the acknowledgement of some kind. This is how we communicate. Okay, welcome to my very strange world. So then I'm like, but I'm not ready to turn my chair over yet. So then what I did was I took one of the dining room chair, I put it in front of their office door. So now we communicate through moving chairs around, right? So then it's in front of the office door. Then when they had to open the door, they're like, what the, so now they're upset because why is this chair now in my face? So now I'm forcing them to confront it. So they're like, why is the chair here? Right? So that finally they're talking. And I'm like, as long as I am upset, this chair will be upside down. And then they're like, but why is it in my office? I'm like, because you need to acknowledge it. That's why it's in your office. And I'm like, why did you tip all the other chairs down? And then they're like, because it was meant to be funny. So it's such a comical way of dealing with things, but also visually, because sometimes I think when we express in words, like I'm frustrated, they don't really see until they see the topped over chair. Then it's a reminder. And I said, I'm not going to turn over my chair until I feel better. So then the next day I tipped it over and they're like, okay, you're fine now, right? But it's like a visual reminder to people around you that you're not okay. And unless you, and you don't want to say it all the time because you don't want to talk about it all the time. But I discovered like a new way of communication that's visual.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And the reason that I love it, because I'm always saying to my husband, like, as the weeks have gone on, we just don't even there's times where he doesn't hear me. It's like, and I get frustrated. And so
here's what I'm going to
this.
suggest. Here's what I'm going to suggest. We get frustrated because we feel not heard,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Are we hearing ourselves ever? Sitting down and really hearing ourselves. So this is what I would like everybody here to do. Try this out. Whenever you feel like the other person's not hearing you, sit down and listen to your own feelings that want to be heard. Be that person
For yourself.
that you want the other to be. Be that person for yourself. And I'm saying this as a reminder to myself too. But I started doing this much more consciously, when I realized that a lot of stuff that I was reacting to was coming from that place of not being heard. And being dependent on somebody else all the time to listen to me or what I had to say. And so I said, well, there's something odd here that I'm realizing, which is that I haven't been listening to myself. Why can't I be that person for myself that I want somebody else to be?
Mhm. I think the exercise of the chair for me was more of like, hey, gingerly walk around me because I'm not okay. So it
Yeah.
might not even have anything to do with them. It's just like, or I don't want to hear your stuff right now because I'm dealing with my own stuff right now. So it's kind of an
I
interesting.
really love that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To let everybody know that, I'm feeling this way. And so, yeah.
I mean, it's dramatic. It's very dramatic with the chair, turned over.
I
But there
love
must
that
be
though.
some
I
other way.
love that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just love that there's like a very visual like movement you can do for yourself. It makes me think of dance, like
Mhm.
like another language. Like when you certain kinds of dance, it's like very much you look at the movement and that's how you know what story is going on. I love that you found a way that even though it sounds a little like crazy, I actually think it makes so much sense, and I'm so glad that you found that and that the other person in your household is gonna be able to acknowledge that. That's
I
so
just thought it
cool.
was funny when all the chairs were turned over because it did make me laugh. Like,
That's funny.
I love it. It reminds me of my husband taking the scissors, and every time he wants to find scissors, he has OCD, it would disappear. Somebody would take the scissors. So one day I went to his office to take the scissors, and there was a chain, and he had put he had propped them, like attached it to the drawer, and then the chain was attached to the scissors. And I was like, okay, I think there's a message in here somewhere.
I
right?
need to do that with the Sharpies in my house.
Right? And sometimes this way of doing it prevents arguments, it's just funny, and it really sends a message, without.
I don't know, though, what message Thomas got. Because if he turned all the other chairs over, then you're left wondering, right? Like, what just happened? What's he trying to say?
Yes, it's funny. Right? So it goes to show how things can be interpreted however you want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all withdrawing. Like we're also withdrawing in this time, right? We're kind of like withdrawing a little bit. And, it's important to also pull people out, in this way without being obnoxious or kind of needy or whatever. It's kind of like, yeah, I love the way you did that. You have created a monster here, Trami. I'm going to like jury rig the entire place, and I'm going to like have little obstacles and little things people have to go through all day.
The lady that I rent a
Not
room from, she puts signs everywhere. There's signs all over the house.
Oh, well,
Oh
Signs
man.
your mother doesn't live here, those type of signs.
So
yeah,
yeah. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
not sure how good the obstacle course is for the flow of energy,
It has to be feng shui approved.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
But it freaked out my dogs because they were like, dogs have their routine and pattern. So when they saw it, they're like,
Well, and I think too, you just said something about patterns. Are there patterns we're getting into during this time that maybe we should really, like, I hired one time a behavioral therapist for my child who, was a bit of a naughty child and got into these patterns. So it was really difficult. And what I learned from this guy was that you have to actually observe exactly what you are doing in that pattern, in that dynamic. And then sometimes we're not even aware of the steps that we're doing, and then flip-flop a step, like do something different to break it, and like set alarms, do whatever you have to do But when you break that pattern, it can be very, very powerful, because some of these patterns are so deep rooted, and frankly, make life mundane sometimes, right? It just allows us to live like we're driving a car, but we're like driving it, but we don't really know how we're driving it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That
So
happens a lot, and that's a bit scary actually, that, you start from a point and then you're driving and then you reach a point and you have no idea how you got there.
That's called UFO kidnapping.
does anyone drive anymore? I don't know. Are we just stuck in our houses?
Right?
You know,
First time yesterday, because I had to go to a chiropractor appointment, and that was really weird because I haven't driven since December when I moved, so I had to drive my car. So that was really strange. But so that's the other thing about the whole self-care. So I've decided, and at one of my Facebook friends' urging, because I was posting something about COVID long-term effects, because I'm experiencing that. And he was like, have you considered Eastern medicine? And of course, I'm all about Eastern medicine. I didn't take a single pill during COVID, whatever. So acupuncture, right? And he was saying like it will help clear chakras that were blocked and that were affected by the COVID, right? Like neurologically. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. So it's important.
Acupuncture really, really is incredible, healing modality.
Yeah, I got referred to a really good somebody. So yeah.
Please share.
I will. I'll go and then see how it goes, and I'll let you know. Because when it comes to Eastern medicine, it has to be the right doctor, right?
So I want to tell you that in 2019, when I was recovering from my long illness, I went to Prague to visit my sister who was staying in Prague at the time. And my sister introduced me to this American acupuncture lady who had moved to Prague from Vietnam. So she worked with a really wonderful place, in Vietnam. And she was really homesick for Vietnam. And it was amazing to see this, American person who was homesick for Vietnam and not America. So she was having a hard time adjusting to Prague. But to cut the story short, she gave me the most amazing treatment while I was there. The 5 weeks that I was in Prague, I went to her every single week for acupuncture. And she gave me she's also a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine. So she prescribed some Chinese herbs to me. And I have been taking them, and that has been a big part of my recovery.
Yeah.
I've not been on a single steroid. I've not been on a single Western, medicine,
Right.
if I can call it that.
Right.
In fact, the stuff I used to take, like nasal drops, steroid nasal drops on a regular basis for years, I stopped using them entirely. I haven't used them in 2.5 years. So I highly recommend all these holistic modalities. They work better with our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's of course room for Western medicine, obviously.
Yeah,
Right. So it's
of
just
course.
on what your issues are and to explore. And I'm all about Eastern medicine. It's cool stuff. But you got to go to the right doctor. I have to stress that. Because yes, they churn them out, right? They churn them out, these supposedly, Eastern medicine type folks. But you got to get the right one.
And now I have to go to Vietnam to go see Johanna because she moved back to Vietnam.
I mean, we can go on about like the history of how Vietnamese people moved to Prague. It's actually quite sad. So back in the day during the war, like in the 60s, right? So Vietnam needed, the communist side needed resources, guns, money to supply them, right? To continue the war. And so the government would make these arrangements with the communist government, such as Russia, Czechoslovakia at the time, which is now the Czech Republic. So they would, instead of paying them money, which they don't have, they would pay them with labor. So these people would be sent to Prague to work. And many of these folks don't know that is horrible work or that it's not,
Yeah.
you know, because they think, oh, I'm going to get a job, and they go over there and it's horrible condition, and the prejudice against Vietnamese people in Prague is incredible. It's like they're considered low lives, right? They're considered, so it's yeah. Go ahead.
So I used to go shop at the market over there, the Vietnamese market, and it's in this really dilapidated like area, you know, it's kind of like it's not in the normal like, you
No,
know, market area. It's like somewhere else out in the
yeah.
boonies or something.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can see that. It's just not
Yeah,
good.
so they're considered like, you know, outsiders, lower citizens, even though they've been there since what, the 60s, 70s. But it happens everywhere, unfortunately, right? But what disgusts me is it's no different than slavery
Yeah.
in a way, right? It's indentured servitude. You send your people over there so you can continue fighting wars here, and it just anyway, this is what human beings do to one another, and it's really
Mhm.
sad. Yeah.
Yep. There's
Mina, you were gonna say something. I stopped you.
no, there's just so much, like each one of you guys is, I mean, I was going back to the whole acupuncture thing, you know, I used that, I had gone through years of infertility, and in order to go through the next cycle, the next infertility cycle, had to have my period. But it, you know, when you've gone through all these drugs that go into your body, it's really hard to get that going. And so I started using a wonderful woman who would restart my cycle, actually. So it was just fascinating to me that how that the body is so attuned to acupuncture. And then of course talking about slavery and people that are you know, this is just a really good time to just really go back to what our theme is today, right? About how the life we're living is on the backs of people before us, you know,
Totally.
and of all cultures. And
Hmm.
we have to recognize that
Yeah.
we live a blessed life and that we have to continue to fight for things that are important and celebrate the victories of people that are not, you know, that weren't seen or that were used
Yeah.
and continue to be. So,
I think meditation is a very good first step, right? To like healing of ourselves. And then when you think about the universe out there, you're helping heal the world too with your thoughts, which are very powerful. So thank you, Mina, for
Yeah, that
Yeah.
comment you said about Southern hospitality was pretty interesting.
mm,
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you
that's
guys so
something to
much
think
for.
about.
yeah.
Mhm. Well, on that note, I think this is a good point to wrap up. Thank you, Mina, for just drawing us back to what we began with, which is how, yes, we can do awful things to each other. But I mean, I think the starting point of healing, like Trami just said, is to grow greater awareness through meditation and
yeah,
noticing the struggles of other people.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're also very excited to announce something that's coming up for Top 6 Alley in March. And it's about building community just like this, but we're doing it with artists, right? So Esther and Ashley and Harleen are running this new program called Creativity. And you can join our Zoom room, which is our tea house. I don't know. You guys can tell me better, but it's
T-Zoom was the idea.
Tea Zoom. It's open mic, so all artists are welcome. It's going to be March 25th. Is that right? March 25th. So probably the last Thursday of every month, we're going to do this. Starts at 7 p.m. And anybody can join and show us your work, show us your sing, perform, your art,
Absolutely.
right? Whatever you want. So I think that's very
Nice.
Love that.
Yeah. Will there
yeah.
be food, snacks, and refreshments?
In the Tea Zoom, yes. Tea Zoom.
Yeah. BYOB or bring your own tea. No.
There you go.
BYOT, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
artists,
anyway,
we're expecting you to also bring something, perform or something.
oh yeah, for sure.
Great.
Yeah, definitely. We want to highlight that this open mic is not just for performative art, not just singers and spoken word artists. If you literally have like a painting or a sculpture that you've come up with during this year-long quarantine period. We'd love to see it and just learn about each other through our art. So yes, March 25th, Creativity Open Mic.
Yeah, it's
And
fun.
so with that, thank you so much for joining our Medi-Veggie program today, for tuning into the presentation Mina gave about vegan Black chefs in our area, and also the vegan rice pudding recipe. We are here every Wednesday leading weekly guided meditation, sharing vegetarian recipes, and highlighting Southeast Asian artists. So as always, friends out there, if you'd like to highlight your recipes or your artistry, please email us at chopsticksalley@gmail.com. We would love to have you on our spaceship. It's still that to me. And in the meantime, check out our work on chopsticksalley.com and chopsticksalleyart.org. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.